Hi there, this is Felicia from Fresh and Felicia, and today we're here to talk about the Cricut Joy and making a t-shirt. We get lots of questions on the process and the steps, so we've decided to go through the process of making this particular t-shirt using the Cricut Joy, but the steps are very similar to using the Cricut Maker. So let's go ahead and get started. So the equipment you're going to need to use would be the Cricut Joy. You're going to need a t-shirt. In my case, with the design I'm doing today, we're going to use glitter pink vinyl as well as glitter black vinyl. These are both HTV, so heat transfer vinyl iron-on material is what we're going to use for a shirt. We're going to need a standard grip mat, some heat transfer tape, our weeding tool, and our easy press. So let's go ahead and get started with the process. Let's go ahead and get started by opening up Cricut Design Space software. This is the software that you can download from Cricut's website. It is free to utilize. Once the software is open, click on the hamburger in the upper left-hand corner and select Canvas. This gives you a clean canvas to start working on. Now we're going to create a design that says Believe in Yourself, but the B in Believe in is going to be a different font and color than the Leave in piece of it, as well as the U from the Ourself. So we're going to create 4 text components, one that says B, one that says Leave in, one that says You, and one that says Ourself. So let's go ahead and get started by clicking on the text tool in the left-hand menu and simply type in the word B. Every time I click the text tool, it gives me a new text component, and I can simply type in the word or text that I'm looking to put in there. In this case, the word B and U are going to be lowercase, but the Leave in and the Ourself are going to be uppercase. So I'm just going to type in Leave in uppercase, click the text tool again, and type in Ourself. So now you can see if I click on one of them and move it around, you can see that I have 4 components in my on my canvas. So the next thing that we want to do is change the font. So with the word B selected, we're going to go into the ribbon and there's a section for font. We're going to click the drop down arrow next to font, and you have the option to use Cricut fonts, fonts found on your system or on your computer, or fonts that you have bookmarked. In my case, I'm going to click on System because I know that I want to use a font that I downloaded from fontbundles.com. And in the search box, I'm going to type in the word Hey, which is part of the name of the font that I'm using, which is Hey Butterfly. When I click search, it found Hey Butterfly, and I can simply click on it, and it changes B from what was Cricut Sans to Hey Butterfly. Let's go ahead and click on U, go back to font in the ribbon and click the drop down arrow. And when I do that, it remembers the last font that I searched on, which says Hey Butterfly. I'm simply going to click that, and it changed U from Cricut Sans to Hey Butterfly. I'm going to click on Leave in. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to choose a different font. So I'm going to still be on System, and in the search box, I'm going to highlight Hey and just type in Arial and click search. Here I'm going to select Arial as my font, and I'm going to repeat the same thing by clicking on Ourself and changing it to Arial as well. Alright, so now that I have my 4 text components and the fonts that I want, now I need to go back in and size them down. So if I click on B, I can go to the ribbon in the top and find the font size section, and I can use the up arrow to increase the font or the down arrow to decrease the font. I can also come in to the font size box and actually type in the size of the font that I want. In my case, I went ahead and typed in 104, and I'm going to do the same thing by clicking on U, back in the font size box, and change that one to 104 as well. There's other ways to adjust that, and we'll look at that in just a second. For Leave in, I'm going to change my font size to 59 and do the same thing for Ourself. Now I'm going to adjust them so that they kind of line up with each other. So I'm going to take U and I'm going to place it a little bit closer to Ourself, and I'm going to take the B and place it a little closer to Leave in. You can see that my font sizes are not exactly the way I probably want them to be. So I'm going to click on Believe in, and instead of going to the font size in the ribbon, I'm going to actually grab the bottom right corner and drag that in a little bit. You see I can increase it and decrease it by increasing it going out to the right and decreasing it by going into the left. So once I have my font about the size that I want, I can see that here, and when I click on it, it says that my font size is 49. I can either drag this one in to match it, or I can go in the font size box and type 49. Alright, so now that I have my fonts lined up about the way I would like them, and positioned about where I would like them to be, I'm going to go ahead and click on B and shift click and click on leave in. That selected both, and I can tell over in the right hand column under layers that I have both my leave in and my B selected. There's another way to do that, and that is to simply click your mouse and drag on those two layers. Again, you can see that the leave in and the B are the two layers that are selected. From there, I'm going to go ahead and click on group. All right, so there, these two are grouped together, but these two are not yet grouped together. So I'm just going to adjust this a little bit more, maybe make it the way I kind of want it to be. And I'm going to click and drag. By clicking and dragging, I don't have to go across the entire image. It's just any pieces or part, and it will select both layers. You can see over here that I have the R self and the U now as the two selected layers. I'm going to go up under layers and click group. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I want to be able to align these together. So I can then pick up the yourself and move it under leave in, getting it the spacing about where I'd like it to be. Now, once I have that spacing in between about right, instead of eyeballing to align them horizontally under each other, I can then click and drag and highlight both groups, and on the ribbon go to align, center horizontally. Now my two groups are exactly aligned horizontally under each other. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and do is ungroup leave in by clicking on it and going in the layers ribbon on the right and clicking ungroup, and doing the same with you with yourself. We're going to ungroup those. Next we're going to click on B. Now we used a cursive font, and if I were to cut this as it is right now, I would actually see a cut line between the B and the E. So I want to avoid that, and to avoid that I want to get rid of the cut line by clicking on B, and in the bottom under the layer section on the far right I want to click weld. What that does is that gets rid of the cut line and makes it one seamless image. Because U is also a cursive font, I'm going to do the same thing with U. Select U and go to the bottom right and click weld. Now to save myself a little bit of time, I'm going to go ahead and click on B and shift click on U, so those two are together. So I'm going to attach them in the bottom right. This way when they cut, they're cut together and I don't have to figure out that spacing. I'm going to do the same with leave in and R self. Click both of those layers and go back to the bottom and click attach. So these are going to cut together, and the BU are going to cut together. Now I mentioned that they were going to do these in different colors, so we're going to do the B in a black glitter iron-on vinyl, and we're going to do the leave-in a pink vinyl. So I'm going to click on the attached leave-in and R self grouping, and in the top under operation it's already set to basic cut, but the color box next to it is black. If I click on that color box, I can then select the color that I like. So in my case I'm going to use pink. So now that I have my design the way I think I want it to be, I can click the whole thing. I can see that the whole grouping is really 8.8 inches wide. It's not exactly what I wanted it to be. So with that whole grouping selected, I can click the bottom right corner and drag that in to make this more in line with what I'd like it to be, which is just right around the 6-inch wide mark. All right, if I'm happy with the way my design is, I can go up. I'm using a Joy, so here if you're not using a Joy, you're using the Maker or an Explorer, you would select your correct machine here, but in my case I'm going to go ahead and use the Joy. I'm going to click on the Make It icon, and from here I'm not using smart vinyl, so I'm going to cut this on matte, and I'm going to select on matte and I'm going to click confirm. Here it gives you a preview of what each color grouping is going to look like. So the B and the U are attached, meaning they're going to cut just like what you see here on the mat. And the key to doing t-shirts that have words in them is to make sure that you mirror the cut. So here on the far left you can see there's a mirror option. I'm going to click on mirror, and you can see it reversed it. I'm going to do the same thing with the pink layer, the leave-in and the R self, and mirror that as well. If I'm happy with the way that's looking, I'm going to click continue. It's going to go off and try to find the Joy. And once it's found the Joy, then I'm going to select the type of material I'm going to use. In my case, I'm using glitter iron-on, which is one of my favorites already. But if it's not one of yours and you don't see it here, click on Browse All Materials, and in the Search All Materials box at the top, go ahead and type in maybe glitter and click Search. And here you can see all the different types of glitter material that are available to you. I'm going to click Glitter Iron-On, and if I wanted it to make a favorite, you would click on the star, and that would show up in your list as one of your favorites. If you don't want it to be one of your favorites, you can unclick the star and it won't show up anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and click Glitter Iron-On, click Done in the bottom, and the machine is now ready to start cutting. What is really important here to note is that it gives you this red exclamation mark, and it's telling you to make sure that you have mirror turned on and that you're using iron-on material, and that the shiny side, the pretty side that you want to show on your shirt, is face down on your mat. You go ahead, from here, you're going to go ahead and load your mat into your machine. The Joy is going to then scan to make sure that it has the mat aligned and that it's the right size. And once it's finished doing that, it's going to give you an option at the bottom to click Go. From there, you just simply click the Go button. It goes off and starts cutting, and when it's done, you will get the prompt to unload your mat. You click the Unload button, your mat comes out, and you're good to go. All right, so the first thing, now that we've got everything set up in Design Space the way we want it, before we cut, we need to cut our vinyl down to the size that's going to fit on our mat. So for the black, if I look in Design Space, I can see that I need it to be about 2.5 inches by about 3.5 inches. So in my roll, I have scrap pieces of vinyl here. So I'm going to take this scrap, I'm going to measure it out to be about 3.5 by about 2.5. All of these extra pieces, it's important to keep together. I mean, you can use a little scrap like this for any number of different projects. So I keep my scraps inside my vinyl roll. And I use slap bracelets to hold my vinyl together to make it easier. They work better than rubber bands, which eventually get dry and break. So we're going to put this aside here, and we're also going to cut the pink vinyl, which in Design Space looks to be about 2.5 by about 5. Let's see if we have any extra pieces here. We've got one that's just about 2.5. Open up our measuring tape. Put this just about 5 and cut that. So now we have both of the glitter vinyls cut to the size that we need. We'll put away our extra material with our slap bracelets, and we'll go ahead and take our standard grit mat, remove the plastic cover, and we'll add our vinyl. So we're going to do these one at a time, and we're going to start with the black. We've made sure that in Cricut Design Space we've mirrored the vinyl, and it does tell you in Design Space before you cut, don't forget to do this. And we're going to add it to our mat upside down, meaning the pretty shiny side is down and the dull side is up. Now open up our Cricut Joy, and we're going to go ahead in Design Space and tell it to cut. And send our mat through the machine, following the prompts on the screen within Design Space. When it's done loading and reading the mat, it'll give you the option to click Go. Click on Go, and it's going to go start cutting. Now the Joy doesn't have any buttons to click to unload the mat from the machine, so you have to use Cricut Design Space and click the unload button that's prompted you with. We're going to go ahead and peel off our black glitter vinyl and add our pink so that we can get this one to start cutting while we weed out the other one. Again, don't forget to put the shiny side down, the dull side is up. Load this into your machine. After you select your material, It reads the mat and make sure you have enough material, and then on the screen in Design Space, you'll click the go button when you get it, and it'll start cutting this one. And while this one's cutting, we're going to grab our weeding tool, which is this real sharp device, and we're going to weed out any of the material that we don't need from our design. Just carefully pulling away the excess that we're not going to use. And then you can see we need to still weed out the space in the different letters. So we'll go ahead and use our weeding tool to pick out those pieces. I find it easier to do the weeding if you leave the material on the mat, but for time, kind of just running through this. There we go. So you can see there's the B and the U in the black glitter vinyl. So we'll set that one aside. We'll unload our mat. We'll do the same process with the pink vinyl and weed out the pieces and parts that we don't need. Now you can see we have the remaining of the letters in pink. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and put the Joy away. We're going to put our mat away. Put the cover back on the mat. The mats can be cleaned with warm water and a drop of Dawn detergent. You kind of rub it down really good and use your scraper to get all the gunk off of it. Let it air dry, and then when it's dry, put the plastic cover back on and the stickiness comes back, but you don't have to do that every single time you use a mat. We're going to go ahead and take our Cricut Easy Press. This is the Easy Press 2 and it's the 9x9 version. We're going to turn it on. We're going to set our temperature to 320 and we're going to let that heat up. Get the extras out of the way. And then we're going to take, you can do this in 2 steps or you can do this in 1 step with this particular design. So the way it's going to look when it's on the shirt is like this. But you can see I have some overlapping material, transfer material in the back. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that away so that I'm able to do this all in one take. So now I've got my letters here and I can align them just right, and I'm able to do this so that I can iron this on in 1 take and not 2. Just like that. So the heat press is still heating up. I'm going to trim just a little tiny bit more. Put these back together. I want to make sure that the letters are not touching, the overlapping letters are not on the transfer tape. We can use a little tiny bit of heat resistant tape to keep them together during the process. If you can find the end. All right, we're at 280 degrees. We've got to get to 320. This tape is not wanting to cooperate. Just take a little piece to keep them together, lined up nicely. And we're going to take our shirt. Now I'm all stuck down. We're going to take our shirt in our design. We're going to take our design and we're going to fold it in half to find the center point. And we're going to mark it. And we're going to use, where did it go? We're going to use a t-shirt measuring guide to measure how far down on the shirt we should place our design. Find my center point, line it up. And, sorry, grab my mat. The bottom of the heat press is sitting in this base. It's not hot whatsoever, so I'm able to lift it up and pick it up, but yet it's reached 320 degrees. So I'll go ahead and move my t-shirt guide out of the way. And my trimmer. Place my t-shirt down on my mat. Take a piece of parchment paper, or this is Teflon reusable. Place that on top and press my design for about 30 to 45 seconds. No pressure really needed when it comes to the heat transfer or the glitter HTV. Right, so once it's done heating, we're going to let it cool down for just a minute. It is extremely hot, 320 degrees. We'll let it cool down just a little bit. And then when it's ready to go, I'll try to pull it from a different angle. Just simply peel up the transfer to reveal your design. And there we go, we made our first t-shirt. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll be doing a lot more fun tutorials here on the Fresh and Felicia and the Family Unit channels. And I look forward to spending more time with you guys.